Hello, everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Sherry Hudson-Passy from Carolina Girl Genealogy, day 3 of Relative Race, and with me to help me talk about all the happenings and the fun parts, the bad parts, the crying parts, the I'm lost parts is, let's see, we've got Melissa Barker, the archive lady. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, everybody. So glad to be here.
Glad you're here. Shelly Murphy's back, our family tree
Yes,
girl.
good evening, everybody. Glad to be here also.
Glad you're here. And we have Bernice back too.
Yes.
Hey, Bernice, we're so glad you're here.
Hello, everybody.
And you can find Bernice, well, it's bernicebennett.com. So that's pretty easy to find. We've got Mary Kircher Roddy from MKR Genealogy and from the, I'm never going to be able to say it, Mary, from the
That's
Applied
okay.
Genealogy Network. Well, I'm having a storm pass over, and that's what I'm thinking about right now. So I might be a little bit, thinking about other things tonight. But anyway, I'm so glad you're here, and I did say it right. So I'm glad. I'm glad that you're here. Laura is back with us. We're glad that you're here from Treasure Chest of Memories. Hello, Laura.
Hello, thank you.
Glad you're here. And where's Penny? I always have to ask.
She is right at my feet. She is already
Okay.
asleep for the
Okay.
night.
At least we know she's there comforting you. So that's good.
She did spend a few minutes barking at the overhead lights earlier, so you guys
Oh,
missed that.
okay. All right. Good to know she's there to protect you from those evil overhead lights. And last but not least, we've got Jenny Hawran from Like Herding Cats Genealogy. Hello.
Hello, happy to be here.
Happy to be here. I'm glad you guys are all here. So day 3, we've got to day 3. We always say it's going by so fast, but I mean, it really does. It really does. It goes by so fast. As we start day 3, Team Black has an advantage that they'll know about at the challenge. So we'll have to see what that is for them. We have 2 teams that have gotten strikes. Red and blue have gotten strikes. And remember this time, 3 strikes doesn't mean you're out. Just the more strikes you get, the extra challenge you have to do at day 10. So those last 2 teams. So we're glad because that gets them all to day 9. Everybody is, talking with their families, and everything seems to be going well as they begin day 3. And of course, they always look at maps and go take walks together and have that bonding time, which is it's always so nice. And we always wish we could see more, but there's only 60 minutes in the show. Actually, it's less than that because they normally would put commercials in there, but we don't have to see commercials. So it's even less than 60 minutes on the show, right? So everybody is coming off a great day 2 as they go into day 3 and hoping to meet. I guess everybody they're just excited about who they're going to meet, So we had let's see, we've got Team Red, and they're going to Oklahoma. So have anybody been to Yale, Oklahoma? I'm waiting for people to say, I've been there. Then Team Blue, Joni, and Rosanna are going to
Spokane, I've been there.
Our Lady Mary in Washington State.
Yeah, she's very
That's right.
excited.
Absolutely.
Our reporter.
Frothing at the
She's
mouth
our
this time.
reporter from Washington State.
That's right. Absolutely. Jen and Leland are going to Colorado, and I didn't write down where. Where'd they go in Colorado?
Colorado Springs.
Oh,
Springs.
I just can't read my own writing. I did.
That's where the Air Force Museum is.
I was
Yeah.
going to say that, yeah.
Oh, that's very
I want
cool.
to go there.
That'd be really fun. That would be fun. We've got Team Black, David and Gabby, and they are going to Henderson, Nevada. So they're going from New Mexico into Nevada, or Nevada, whichever way you say it. So, so they've nobody's got really long trips. I think one of the teams had a 3-hour trip.
Team Black had the longest.
The longest.
Also wanted to say a 3-hour tour, but it's not it's a 3-hour drive. So you know what I've noticed? They're not doing any of those texts to each other so far this year. So I wonder if they just haven't had the room yet to stick it in, because we haven't seen any love texts or even teasing
Maybe
texts.
it'll come.
It'll probably
Maybe
come.
it'll come.
No trash talking.
Nobody,
Yeah.
nobody's been, I
Maybe,
mean,
maybe
there's
we
no
criticized them texting and driving too much.
or the show did. I don't know. I just don't know. So, but anyway, so they get their text messages from Dan. They have to quickly say goodbye, and they're on the road. And they seem to be not too terribly. Nobody really had too much trouble getting to their that I can remember to the challenge. I think that was it Team Red that thought they went out the wrong way, but it turns out
Yeah.
that they ended up catching the
Yes.
right road. They were
Right.
they
And
lucked
again-
out.
And again, for the 15th season or whatever season we're in, nobody in the town where these people live know where
Who?
anything is.
Nobody knows anything, whether it's
But
trying to get
It
to
was
the
a
town.
new subdivision on the ones.
Well, that's on the
That's true.
challenge. Yeah, that's on
So
the challenge.
that
finding
would
the-
be true.
I think
Yeah.
we had maybe a first this time too.
What's
I
that?
don't remember which. Let me see. I think I wrote it down. Where is it? Oh, green team. First of all, green team. I don't think they're even sorry, green team. I don't think they're even looking at their maps because they like, let's go ask somebody. So they don't even look at their maps.
Well,
But they
maybe
did
just
run
wanted
into a
to be
person.
easier.
They did
Yeah.
run into a person who lived on the road that they
Right.
were looking
The
for. I don't know that
same
we've ever
street.
had that.
Right, that's when they were trying to
Mesa.
find their relative. Yeah, that's when they were trying to find their relative.
But
Yeah.
didn't they also do it to find from Aurora to Colorado Springs? Didn't they also like look at the maps and there were too many different freeways?
That's right. And
Yes.
so they went and asked.
They're like,
Yep.
let's
Yeah.
screw
Let's
this.
just ask. That would be faster.
Let's
That
see
would
what
be
the
faster.
locals say.
And we don't often see much about when they're going to the challenge. So I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of fun that they did give us a couple of instances of asking, and then when they thought they got on the wrong road completely. So we don't often see that. We see the trouble after the challenge trying to get to the relative's house. Listen, guys, we haven't been mentioning the challenges so far this season and whether or not we think they would be a good a good family reunion. I think so too, Laura. This would be so much
This one would be good.
fun.
Yeah.
It
I think
wouldn't
it
be
would
that hard to set up either.
No.
I think it would be so much fun. It's just Battleship. You know,
Yeah.
we've
I
had
actually calculated. Okay, you could use those 5-gallon buckets from Home Depot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
exactly. We've even played a similar Battleship just in our church gym. And we brought out the volleyball net and put a blanket over it so you couldn't see the other team. And you just bounce the ball and you throw it over. And if you hit somebody, then you hit, you just say where they were. They all had numbers. It was easy peasy. So it's
Oh,
easy
so
to do.
instead of barrels, you have people with
We had
numbers?
people. Yep. We had people.
Oh, that's cute. You could do that
Yeah.
at a family
And just a real
reunion.
soft big ball. So nobody was going to get hurt by it. So that was really fun. So I know if we could do that, we could probably figure out this one too. And did it look like to you that there was like water or something in the bucket?
Yeah, there's water,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Was
I
there?
think
Okay.
made it so the balls wouldn't bounce out of the thing.
Ah,
maybe.
that's a good point. That is a good point. It was called banking buckets is what it was called. And really all it was a great big battleship game. So I thought it was really fun. So they had to hit it. So when it came over, then the other person had to hit it and try to hit it into the buckets. And so
Yeah.
that made it harder. I think they just throw in the stinking ball over the over the net.
But it made both
David
people
was
have
saying he was
control.
so short that he couldn't see
Couldn't.
over it anyway. So I thought that was funny.
Okay,
What'd you say,
Team
Laura?
Black had what I thought was a very real complaint in that in
Yes.
Arizona, in Spokane, the temperature was not nearly what
Oh.
it was in Arizona.
103, he said. It was
Well,
100.
Black was actually in Nevada.
Right.
Nevada.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
But
they're
she's
just
Yeah,
saying
it's
outside
that-
of Las
103
Vegas, yeah.
degrees.
Yeah. Where the other teams, like the ones that would be in
Spokane or
Okay.
Mary's neck of the woods.
Yes.
But it was
Let
probably a
me
very
ask a
cool day.
question.
Yeah.
Regarding the challenges this season,
Mhm.
we're at episode 3. We still
Mhm.
got, 7 more to go or, 6.
Six.
But they're totally different, coming totally different.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like this or not versus what has been, I'm going to say, typical in the last several seasons. This one seems to be almost a little more physical, maybe,
or even technical in what
or
you have to do
technical.
doing the activity.
Yeah, I felt so
we'll
bad
see.
for Red last week.
When
Oh,
she
yeah.
kept falling,
could
I
not
know.
Catch that ball.
I know. So it'll be interesting to see how it continues on throughout the
How
season.
they continue, because they seem to be a little more physical, but
Yeah.
they're also challenging in different ways.
And I don't think really that any of the teams can't handle those physical activities. I think they can do them just fine. I don't think.
I don't know. Miss Thing was falling twice. And I
Well,
was like,
yeah,
oh my God.
and she had said she just
She said she's normally she's a faller. Anyway,
I loved it
I
when
just
yeah, go ahead.
felt
Sorry,
bad.
Shelley. Yeah. I loved it when Team Red got done. They went, we didn't time out. We didn't time out. And everybody, as they're running to the
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really cute. It was really cute. So it was a good one. I think it was a really good
Right.
activity for them to do. So I'm trying to think who was before even that saying I have a I think it wasn't it Dan before they even got going was saying I have a brother before they even he was chanting that before they even left because he found a brother last
Right. He was
yeah.
talking about.
So he was all excited about that. So he was on cloud nine just leaving and having fun with that. But I had forgotten to mention that. I thought it was really, really cute. So anybody have a choice of which team they want to talk about? I mean, they got there. We talked a few minutes about what different methods they used, a delivery truck driver, you know, and again, people just don't know where anything is in their town. And I really do think a lot of it is because we use our phones to get places all the time. And so if it's not someplace we go to a lot, we would just plug it in, right? We just plug it in. We wouldn't know how to tell anybody where to go. And so, and one of them, Team Blue, somebody already mentioned, it was a brand new, I think it was Shelley, it was a brand new subdivision. No wonder nobody knew how to get there.
And new streets are there and they're,
Yeah, nobody knows it's there. Nobody knows it's there, but
that's not making up for nobody in a community not knowing where some streets are.
Yeah,
that's just one valid reason.
Right, that's a good reason, right? So it amazes me when they go to delivery people and they don't know because they deliver all the time, but maybe they're just using their GPS and they're not paying attention.
Not only that, but delivery people are usually assigned to a particular section, and especially if you have a big city, they're only delivering in their section. It's like mail people, they're just delivering in their little section. They don't go all over.
And that reminds me of Mary's hint last week where she said zip codes. You need to look for the zip codes and ask where the zip code is for that particular area instead of just driving all over town. That was so smart.
But do you ever thought why people aren't pulling up their GPS and finding that street?
Because they're not allowed to.
They're not supposed to.
Yeah, I'm talking about the people they're asking. You know what I mean?
They're not allowed to.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just had never seen that told.
Yeah,
that they can't or not.
Yeah, they're not.
Okay. They must tell them, Shelley. They must tell them, don't use your GPS. Do you know where this is?
Yeah, when they first go up.
Yeah, we just don't hear it.
Right. They're probably saying we're on a game show.
Because that would be the first thing I would do.
Me too. Me too. Laura?
So on the zip code thing, I want to point out, so where I live, there's this road, Farmington Road.
Okay.
And a quarter mile, there's like 3 zip codes that come together. So anybody here, we would be like totally confused.
I gotcha.
And then we have mailing addresses that are that have a different city name than the geographical.
Oh no. No wonder people don't know where anything is.
That's why we have a grid system, because otherwise nobody would know. But but one thing I did notice, though, I looked at the time when they finished with everybody, when we got to the first house, and it was 9:17. So they only spent 17 minutes on the whole race part of it.
Yeah.
And so they left us with, 45 minutes for the results and the family stories.
The results, she says.
I
That's
know.
interesting that you looked at that. Very observant. I guess I'm just watching it and I'm not paying attention to that kind of thing. I'm just, are they going to get there? Who are they going to meet?
Well, I
Those
get
kinds of
impatient when they're trying to find their home, their relatives' houses. I'm impatient for them. So I'm
things. Yeah.
looking at the clock like, this is taking too long. Let them get to their
Yeah.
houses.
And who was it at Blue Team? Was it Blue Team that went too far?
Red.
It was
Okay.
Team Red, yeah.
Team.
They didn't go far enough on
Far
that
enough.
road.
Yeah,
And then
they had
turned
to
around
keep
and went
going
back.
down.
And
Okay.
then,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
They thought they'd gone too far, but they hadn't.
Okay, but
They hadn't gone far
okay.
enough.
Okay. That must be so frustrating. So frustrating to be so close and then it wastes time, precious, precious time. So, all righty. Who wants to go with who? Mary wants to do team.
I'll do Team Blue.
She will. We'll have to
Go,
force
Mary.
her into it.
Yeah, so they eventually made it to the brand new house out there that they said, oh, it's only been here a month. That's what Joni commented. That's why we couldn't find it.
Exactly.
But they met a cousin,
Mhm.
and it was a cousin on her father's side,
Right.
and some, they're bringing up a lot of the military connections this season, and that's kind of their theme. And so this cousin showed pictures of Joni's grandfather, who was in the Coast Guard, and then the cousin's father, so Joni's uncle,
Yes.
who was in the Navy, and a decorated Vietnam sailor, and showed a picture of him. I think he thought it was taken in Vietnam, of a medal that he received for
medal.
some. I don't know that I don't remember whether they said what it was, but
I don't think
for
they
some
did
sort
either.
of good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his name was Brandon, and he actually was the brother of the cousin that she'd met before. And so that was interesting. And he said, she goes, well, this is a surprise. And he goes, but I'm a good surprise. I'm not a bad surprise. I thought that was cute. But Mary,
I found it interesting because when they said that, I found it interesting that Joni repeated it, but she repeated it in a different context. She says, I'm not a bad surprise. And I felt that there was a lot of emotion behind that.
I see what you're saying. Yes, I did hear her say
because
it
I think,
that.
a lot of these, that they don't know how they're going to be received. And so I think she's very pleased that she's not a bad surprise to these family members.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because she looked in the camera and she says, it's good to know I'm not a bad surprise.
Right. Yeah, because I'm sure that's what they think. And Mary, Joni learned something very important from this meeting. That was her father's last name.
Yes, she got the father's last name. So
and it was Arkle.
Arkle.
So now she knows her biological father's last name is Arkle. So yeah, that was really cool. But I don't remember her asking if he was still alive, if he's still around. I don't think she asked. They cut it. We didn't get to see it.
My guess is that if she asked it, they probably cut. Well, we obviously didn't get the answer to.
Yeah, we didn't get the answer
that question that we had. So they either cut it,
or she didn't ask.
Or she was told not to ask.
Told not to ask. Yeah.
Or they were told, to her
cousin
was told to not say. But yeah, and so they.
Right. Yeah.
But they're working their way west.
They're working their way
wind
west.
up in my city, so I'm very excited. It's their city too, but I'm excited.
It's gonna be fun to see where they are. You're gonna go, oh,
I know.
God,
I'm like,
right here. Why wasn't I there?
That's like my biggest question. I was like, okay, Yakima, we're afraid of where are they gonna wind up next week?
That's so funny. It's always so fun when they're near where you live. I love that so much. All right, who wants to go next? Whichever team you want to talk about.
I'll do green. I don't have a lot on them, so maybe everybody can help me out a little bit.
Sure.
But so Jen, they actually went by the house. Remember,
they're the ones that went by.
They went all the way by it and had to turn around. So that was stressful right there.
Yes.
And so Jen met her brother, Kevin. And he was so very, very sweet. I mean, he definitely, you know, made her feel like welcome to the family and everything. And they joked about their hands. Apparently, she's got big hands. I mean, and so they did kind of like a little thing. So they made a joke about that. Yeah,
and
I'm just trying to think.
And the nose.
And the nose, yeah.
The nose.
Well, and I loved it. He said he's an accountant and he's introverted, and but she's very extroverted. And her daughter was saying, "Yeah, mom's all about the FOMO, fear of missing out, and dad's all JOMO, joy of missing out, because he's introverted too."
I love that.
Yeah,
I loved that so much. I hope that becomes a thing. That was so funny. That was so cute. But they were so fun together. I loved that. They just
very sweet.
I just very sweet. And you know, I can't even imagine what that phone call is like when somebody says, "Oh, guess what? You've got a sibling out there that you never knew you had." You know, is there a little bit of jealousy? Is there a little bit of I can't believe that? You know, what goes through their minds when they discover that they have a sibling that they had no idea they had? So, but
I guess it depends on how old you are and what, you know, what your knowledge of your parents' young life is like.
True. It probably makes a big difference if that sibling was before your parents got married. Do you know what I mean? And not
and is it mom or dad? I mean, that's obviously would be my first question. Because that could be a very different story. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It could be a very different story. So, and I'm thinking with him, was he? I didn't write it down. Did anybody catch? Is he a paternal or maternal sibling, or full sibling? I don't think he's a full sibling.
I didn't write it down either.
I don't think he said.
I don't
think they did either. I just wrote down because usually I write that down and I just wrote that it was her brother.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I did.
Yeah, so not sure at this point. But they're fine.
Yes, it's the dad's side because she met the dad, then she met her aunts, and then her brother, and he's got the same nose.
The same nose, duh. Yes.
I was thinking the nose too, Mary, and I was like, didn't they use a last name with the nose?
Yeah. Yep, you're absolutely right.
And what is it about the eyes?
That is Team Blue.
Team Blue, because they keep commenting about the eyes.
Yeah, they've got these pretty
Joni, yes.
And they also I've noticed it's not only the eye color, but it seems to be the shape too.
But it's the eyes on the mom's side. It's not it's not the first week cousin or the third week cousin.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those are paternal side.
Yeah.
So what I liked about Team Green is they just seemed like they were completely ready and enjoying this visit, and the two of them were just like they were just happy, just real authentically happy.
Yes.
I just enjoy. I'm sorry, I can't think of the mother's name. Is
Jen.
Like she's like, and it's going to be this way. They've all been welcoming. They're all going to keep being. You know, she's dropped all those like emotional barriers and she's just completely open.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed seeing that.
Yes. Yeah. There was just happiness on both sides, you know, just happiness and joy of meeting family and getting to know each other. I thought that was really beautiful, really beautiful. And of course, she's like, I didn't know I'd ever have a brother. I had never thought of having a brother. I'm so grateful to have a brother. And then she was doing the same thing. I have a brother.
But did you hear what Leland said?
What?
She's like, I told you it's not all it's knocked up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's right. That was funny.
Referring to her own brothers, I'm sure. Yeah. That is so funny. And they're just so real. I love that they're just so real when they say these things. And I'm glad that we get to hear a lot of that because it helps us get to know the teams too and their personalities when they show us those kind of things that they say. Alrighty.
I'll take Gabby and David.
Okay.
But I didn't
Don't take
notes.
Gabby and David for 100.
Okay, so when they got to their relatives, see, I didn't take notes last night, so I'm sorry, but they were they were met by a young woman, and when she said, "I'm your cousin on your father's side," I think Gabby hugged her, but then took a minute.
He did. She didn't hug her first.
She did.
She turned around.
She turned away.
Like,
turn around.
Like I have to process this.
Right, and David kept saying, "Are you
turned
okay?
around and just like kind of tackle hugged her,
right,
which was so sweet. I have so much compassion for Gabby. She's like on this journey that's half her father's journey, and you know, a lot of grief is all mixed in. So, but then they said, well, the cousin whose name was
Selena
said, I have someone else for you to meet.
Yes.
And it was her mother, so Gabby's aunt.
Selena's mother, Gabby's aunt. Yeah.
Yeah, Selena's mother, Gabby's aunt.
Yeah.
And then her grandmother.
Which would be her daddy's mama.
Her daddy's mama.
Yeah.
So it was her Aunt Mary, which was her dad's sister.
Yeah. So it was a threefer.
Yeah.
Which, I'm glad she took that moment to set herself, because she was meeting a lot more than her cousin. But I thought it was just really, I really loved it because, you know, relative race can string you along. Well, today you're going to meet the cousin. We know grandma's out there.
Yeah.
The next week you'll miss. They didn't string us along or string her along.
No.
They're like, these three people belong together, and we're going to tell their story together.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was very, you know, super emotional for Gabby, because she said that she's always bittersweet, which I get from my own personal experience, that she wishes her dad could be there experiencing it too. And so every joy is kind of tempered by that really recent grief. But she did ask some questions, and grandmother said that they fought to keep him in the family, and that, but all they said was something happened that was out of her control. And so Child Protective Services came in and removed him, and they fought to get him back, but failed.
Yeah.
So that's fine if that's all they want to tell us, because it might be personal information.
Right. You know, there's more to this.
There's more, but I mean,
there's more. So I'm hoping behind the scenes that Gabby's getting the full story, because, you know, that can just raise more questions than.
They said that they even got attorneys involved, which means that they must have really fought hard to pay for attorneys.
It's normal. It's normal when kids are in foster care. The parents get an attorney, and of course the state has the attorneys for the state. So that's normal.
Yeah, but it did seem like usually when there's a termination, I don't know anything. But my guess is when there's a termination of parental rights, it's usually for the parent to have all the children. So
not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Yeah.
Oh, no?
It just depends. It just depends.
Yeah. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's all the circumstances, and we don't know the circumstances or anything like that.
It may have been that whatever happened only had to do with her father, Dean, and not the other children.
Yeah, very possible.
So why they
and David could have been part of that, the victim of that, or some kind involved, just him at that, or whatever happened only happened to him and not the others.
That's what it sounds like.
But it came down to the grandmother saying, I'm here because I want her to understand that she has people she can lean on.
Right.
And so I don't know how old the grandmother is, but she had oxygen. You know, she's obviously a little bit frail in health.
Right.
But it was so important to her to meet her granddaughter and to try to at least express like some support of her current situation and her journey. And so I found it a very emotional meeting because
I cried.
Yeah.
I cried.
But I'm going to say it this way. I cried because of what I don't know, not absolutely what I saw, because I know there's got
There's got to be more.
There's
But
more
like I
to
said,
this,
it's not
and
our
we're
it's not our
okay.
business. It's not our story to tell.
It's not ours to tell, but the pain is strong.
Pain is
The
strong.
grandmother had the pain.
Yeah.
Gabby had the pain.
And I think Gabby's
and the
biggest
sister.
pain, right? And I think Gabby's biggest pain is finding out all this information. You know, her dad never
And
knew
her
that he
dad
had a
didn't know.
sister. He
Yeah.
didn't know he had a niece.
Yeah.
He didn't know that he had all this family. And so she's hurting for him and
On his behalf, yeah.
yeah.
But why didn't he know that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And I think that's some of the pain that Gabby's going through. Wait, all of you guys are out here?
yeah.
Where were you?
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
from experience,
yeah.
experience.
The contact. and
There
all
is
the
no
privacy.
contact once
Yeah.
a child is taken out. I mean, you
Yeah.
can make contact
Right. If
plans,
it's allowed.
but it's got to be allowed. And so it's not like once termination is done with a child that they're going to be able and allowed to come back and see the family.
Right.
It usually
And
doesn't work that way.
It seems like to me, my mother was a child protective service worker. And it seems like to me, sometimes there's just these situations that it's not like there's one person that's a bad guy. It's these situations.
It's the situation. That's exactly.
And they end up doing what they think is best for the child.
Yeah.
And like you said, they leave wounds with the parents and siblings. I mean, so there's wounds left all around.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe it
Mary
was
had
the best decision.
I think
But
Mary had a question. She had her
I'm
hand
sorry.
up.
I'm sorry, Mary.
That's okay. Well, it was what Laura was talking about, how they had the three together. I mean, the cousin and the aunt and the grandmother, and they didn't put them in different episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that because, I mean, we have two teams, two mother-daughter teams, that any relative that they meet is both of their relatives.
Right.
And so on this one, you got to get as much of the uncle relatives as the nieces, hopefully, so that allows them to not
That's
take
probably
three
exactly right.
episodes on one.
And maybe
thing
for them too, it was easier to tell the story together than separately. Maybe they needed each other for support to tell the story.
Well, I would think they wouldn't want to put the grandmother on an episode by herself, as
No.
frail as she looked.
No.
that's true.
Not at
That's
all.
true.
I think the one thing that I think Gabby maybe is so sad about, because I will say I think her father probably struggled in his life. And so she saw that struggle and is reacting to, if he had known these things,
right,
he wouldn't have struggled. And so I think that's probably particularly hard for her, and that if he had known, his life would have been so different.
Yeah.
I just really hope that as we work through, that she's at peace by day 10. I just hope that there's enough.
That's asking a lot, Cheri.
No, I just mean where she's understanding a little bit more. I mean, she's still going to have a lot to process through. I understand that, but I just mean that it's not as rough as it is right now. By the time she gets,
or it's going to get worse.
Oh, I hope it doesn't get worse.
Well, I'm just saying, there's so many people to meet, all of this stuff. I mean, she's got the mother, she's got the sister.
She's got a lot. Yep.
She's got a lot to process.
Yeah. All those siblings. Yeah.
Well, what I hope for her is that she's able to separate her father's would-be journey versus her own.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
And let go of that a little bit and feel the joy of having these new people that might continue being in her life.
Exactly.
Mary's doing this
Other
again.
thing,
Well,
I'm just thinking about, we're talking a lot about Gabby's grief, and I can't say that that's unjustified, but it just is interesting to me. I mean, her grandmother had no idea, probably. I mean, she's probably wondered about her son, but now, and she probably, I don't know whether she knew when she was
he had passed.
notified by the show
Yes,
that her son had
right.
passed. So
Right.
think about that
Great point.
grandmother's
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
There's
yeah.
loss on both parts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good point, so.
Wow, that would have been talk about bittersweet. Oh, you get to meet your granddaughter,
Yeah.
but you can't meet your son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. So, I'm hoping, and I want David to be able to find comfort and peace within himself too, as he goes through his journey, because he is trying to comfort Gabby through this as well, and
Yeah.
and he's got that connection. I mean, he's always saying, and that was my brother, that's my brother, that's my brother, and so although they're not biological, they were raised together. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
So it's
The
hurting.
bonds are the same.
That's
Yeah.
right. He's
Yeah.
hurting just as much. He's hurting just as much.
Well, and I think it's also hard, if you're the aunt or uncle, to like watch somebody hurt and not be able to fix it.
Oh, right. Exactly. Not be able to
Mm.
fix it. So, let's hope we hear some positive and some, some, like I said, a little bit of maybe some comforting information that's not so devastating, as they process through. And we had talked about this a little bit earlier before we started recording, that we have seen this happen in different seasons where we could tell that somebody was really not taking things well.
Mhm.
But they were able to make strong connections either by the end of the show or after the show, when they were able to spend more time together.
I think getting the information from her grandmother is going to help her a lot more going forward.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
I wouldn't even say she's not taking it well. I'm just saying it's a lot to take in.
It's a lot. It's an absolutely lot to take in. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't even imagine. It's like a fire hose, of unexpected information, and you're supposed to deal with that on camera, and you're supposed to say
Yeah.
something coherent. So
And after they had the longest drive, and so
that's
after
right.
3.5 hours in a car,
Yeah.
and in 103-degree heat,
Oof.
popping the balls into those buckets,
Yeah.
and then to be faced
rough
with
day.
this was
It was a rough
would have
day
been
for
really
them.
hard.
Really.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Team Red. Who wants to go over Team Red? What a great story that was. Anyone?
I'll do Team Red.
All right, do Team
That's
Red.
Kaylee and Dan, who are niece and uncle, and they went to Yale, Oklahoma. I didn't know where Yale was.
I have no idea.
I lived in Oklahoma for 7 years as a
Shelley's
child.
looking for us.
Yeah, I lived in Oklahoma for 7 years as a child. My dad was in the Air Force, but I didn't know where Yale was. So anyway, so he met his mother, Bernice.
Yes. Oh my
And they looked
I thought that
lot
was
alike.
special.
Oh, that was
very
so
special.
beautiful.
It is.
And when they met, she says, "I'm Bernice," and he says, "You're my mom."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was beautiful.
So that's very
You could
special.
tell from the height. Just kidding.
So yeah, so that was a very sweet reunion.
Yes, it was
Yes.
sweet.
It was very
There was
sweet.
no
She didn't want to let him go.
awkwardness. No, there was no awkwardness or anything.
No,
Yeah.
no. That was it was just beautiful. And she just wanted to hold him, and he just wanted to hold her. And yeah, it was just
He kept thanking her, and she kept saying, "You're welcome." It was like they just were like just in the moment,
Yeah. And she was grateful that he didn't have any hard feelings, which we see a lot when they meet there.
He said he had a good life. He had good parents, and just the whole childhood was good, and they're all supportive. And
yeah, and she was saying that's what I prayed for. That's what I prayed for. And she was what? Would she say she was 19?
19. Yeah.
19.
When she placed him for adoption.
Yeah, she didn't go into any details about, other than, you can surmise that she just didn't have the means or maybe the family support or, at that age, to take care of him. And as she said, she prayed that he would get given to a really good family, and he said that he was. And so that made her feel better.
Exactly. And he also discovered he has half brothers.
Right.
Yes.
So that might be other people he's going to meet. So
Said they're
and I
tall.
And they're tall too.
Yes.
So
And
that's
she wasn't as tall as he was, so I'm wondering.
She's
And there's
nowhere
no
near
mention
as-
of Daddy.
She's like half
Mhm.
as tall as he
She's like
is.
your
Yeah.
height, right, Shelley?
Oh no, she could. No, no, I'm shrinking too. I'm finally a little bit below 5 foot.
Are you
Mm.
really?
Yeah, yeah. I've been 5 feet so long, but the last few years it's shrinking.
Oh,
According to them.
according to the doctor, you're shrinking.
They just have
Yeah,
to
I
hang
think
you
we
by your
all
toes
do.
for a little bit. And
Yeah.
You know what else I loved about his meeting with his mom is that he brought pictures to show her.
As
Oh,
a
yes.
baby.
first.
That's a
Yeah, I can
reverse.
remember.
Yeah.
His graduation pictures, that cute little when he was like maybe about 5 or so, 4 or 5, and just all these cute pictures.
Yeah,
And
the Rick Astley shoulder pads. You said it was
yes,
the 80s.
yes,
Yes.
and the
That was
jacket.
80s all the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
You know, I had a bad thought while we were, because he was like, he should have been on Andy Griffith or something. Like, he was such a cute little freckled face thing. I'm like, that must have made it harder for her to see like how completely
cute
utterly
he was.
adorable he was as
Yeah.
a child. He should have like darkened the teeth or done something.
And she said just her heart ached, just wondering what was going on and how his
Yeah.
life was and missing all those moments. And so for him to bring those to share, I thought was just beautiful and such a thoughtful
Yeah.
thing to do. Instead of being all my, I want to see pictures of me and why did this all happen? He thought ahead in case he was, because he'd said I wasn't sure because of he's what, 53?
52, I think.
52,
something like
I
that.
thought you said 53, but
And so
somewhere in there.
and somewhere in there, he's in his early 50s. And you know, he said my parents very well could be gone. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was one of the fears, was
Yeah.
worried. I found, oh, my lights just went off.
we're having storms
Well,
on the
and the
East Coast.
phone's ringing. But anyway, I found it's Payne County, Payne, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And just for direction, it's not quite in the middle, more on the eastern side, but it's 2 counties away from Osage.
Interesting. Well,
And
thank
y'all
you.
know Osage from the movie
Yes,
and the
yeah.
history. And so, yeah, it's Osage, Pawnee, and then there's Payne.
Okay.
It's not a
Okay.
big county either.
Yeah.
And I'm not recognizing anything else to give any other.
But now we know that there's a Yale, Oklahoma. Who knew?
Yeah, in Payne County. So
Exactly. It was another great episode. You know, we're only on day 3 and they've met some,
No.
yeah.
you know,
There's
sometimes
been some big connections.
Yeah.
big connections for just day 3. So that's just, I'm just thinking,
What else is coming?
yeah, what else? What else is coming and how are they going to get there? You know, as you see, as they plot to get them to where they want them to go. It's just been an amazing first 3 days. But as Dan always pulls us in and says, well, we've come to the end of the day and it's time for results. And so, but again, as they met and talked to each other, the joy, especially when Dan said, I met my mom. I mean, they were just, some of them you could tell were in tears for him.
Yeah, right.
So, so just the support is just, again, it's just amazing, the support that they give each other. But we got the results. And this time, whoever comes in first, they always say it this way, they're going to punish the other teams. They don't punish the other teams. It's just that the team that comes in first just doesn't get the penalty that everybody else does. Do you guys remember what the penalty is going to be? Sounds like it's
military morning exercise.
Exactly.
Like boot camp. Yeah.
Yes.
Boot camp with drill sergeant Dan.
That'll be fun.
This is going to be interesting.
And I wonder if he's going to do that virtually or in person.
Boot camp.
Yep.
I bet you guys it's going to be some kind of exercise with boots.
It's
But you know,
I
David,
thought it would.
Dan will have to
with
do this
concrete
virtually.
boots or something that they're going to have
No,
to
I think
carry
it would be
around.
push-ups and just morning.
They might just have a recording of him saying, "All right,
Maybe,
teams."
yeah, because he can't be in all those places.
Nope, he can't. So unless they record something, and then show it to them or something,
Yeah.
they could do something like that. But that's going to be really interesting to see how that turns out. So again, along with the military theme, and then boot camp.
And I don't know if we were
Feels hard to
told in the beginning when they were told everybody would go to day 10 that we would have strikes, but they wouldn't, you wouldn't be 3 strikes you're out. But then he did say at the end of this episode that the strikes do matter, and that whoever has the most strikes will have to do an extra challenge.
Two teams that have the most strikes.
Yes, 2 talents. Right.
Yeah.
2 teams on day 10.
On day 10. Yeah, exactly.
So at least we know that.
They are still counting them. They just don't get off the show.
Right.
They get to 3. So, that's got to lessen the stress as well. I mean, you don't want to get the strike because you don't want to have to do an extra challenge. But
they also don't want to be in bottom position.
That's right, because then you've got to do an extra challenge. And so, So there's that stress, but there's not that, oh my goodness, like there was in the earlier seasons, especially the early ones. It was strike 3, you were out, and then you didn't get to meet your relative on camera. You just had to wait until relative race gave you the paperwork, and then you had to make your own connections. And so at least they progressed from that to letting us see, who they meet. And now knowing they'll meet everybody. So
it would be interesting, I think, maybe to ask them when they come on.
Yeah.
Because they really, I don't know, I don't get the sense from anybody that $50,000 is a tenth of the reason why they are on this show.
And it never is. So we'll probably get more of a sense of that later in the
challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's going to make it harder to get the $50,000. But by that point, it could be just a big. Well, so
it's icing. It's icing on the cake. Yeah, we've met everybody.
Yeah.
Icing on the cake. So far on day 3, I think everybody's doing quite well as far as challenges, except for poor Team Red, the one they did time out on the one. But as far as doing them, they all seem perfectly capable. The teams don't seem mismatched. Like, oh my goodness, this team couldn't do physical, and this team, would have a heads up with head start with all the challenges that I can see. I think they're pretty much evened out. We haven't seen them do a real mental challenge yet. So, and some people really love puzzles and some people don't. And so it's not that you're not smart. It's just that some people just don't like doing that kind of thing. And so it doesn't come easy for them. So, but we're probably too early yet to make any predictions as to who's going to go all the way through. But
yeah.
But
I think Mary's right. I think if all those teams, even if there was no 50,000,
they'd still do it.
Would have said, this is worth. I mean, they had to have been motivated in that way.
Exactly. The money didn't motivate them.
But it might motivate them. It might motivate them to drive a little. Look at their maps a little harder,
so they don't get that strike.
It seems like there's a lot of strategizing the night before, like where's ways out of the city and which places could we be going to.
So we need to get out of town. How are we going to do it? Right.
Was this the first time that somebody packed the night before? Because the red team, they had said that they had packed and they were ready to go when,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anyone
showed us.
I know.
They're always laughing about that. Why aren't they packed? Why are cases in the car? What's going on? What's going on?
I would be sleeping in the clothes that I need to get up with.
They've said before that the clock doesn't really start till they're in the car. They make a big show of the rushing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
No biggie.
Exactly. So
I'm still enjoying it, even though I think this is a challenging season.
Yeah.
And again, the makeup of the teams we get a variety every year.
Oh yeah.
And like the 2 mother-daughter, and stuff. So, but have fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's going to be a really fun, emotional season. Who would like to go with the results? Anybody want to go over the results?
Bernice hasn't said anything. Let's make Bernice do it.
Bernice is she says she's going to be a lurker tonight. She's still trying to catch up because she's been out of town. So
Yeah, I just watched the episode today myself.
Yeah, I do too.
does anybody remember who came in first place?
Black
Team
did.
Black.
Team
Black.
That's right. And then we had
And they were
Team
like
Red.
Team Red came in second.
Yep. And so then it was, between blue and green, but
Yeah.
green got that strike. So now we got 3 teams with strikes. So that's
Black's
great.
the only one with
Right.
So that's
right.
so Black's the only one that doesn't have a strike. So I kind of like it when they're evened out because that means I'm not too worried about one team. Not that they're going to go home, but I don't want them to have to do the extra challenge, although somebody's going to have to. So
Mhm.
2 teams are going to have to, but
I know, but we never want anybody to, but that's just the way the show works.
Yep.
we gotta deal with it. So another really good episode, I think. A really good day on the race. And
Mhm.
so Team Green with the strike, and then Black will be the one that doesn't have to do the boot camp. they're probably happy about that. They don't have to do. I'll bet you it'll be funny though. I'll bet you it'll be funny, especially with Dan being the drill sergeant. That's going to be.
Yep.
We'll all get a kick out of that, I'm sure. Is there anything else that we missed that you wanted to talk about? That we didn't say, or I know sometimes afterwards I'm like, oh yeah, we forgot about that part, but there's just so much,
well, we want to leave some stuff out so people have to watch the show.
Well, I think that most people who watch this show have already seen it from the comments we get. Most people have already seen the episodes. So yeah. And so what's really fun is to hear our viewers, what you got out of the show, what your favorite parts were, and what are your thoughts and about the season and things like that. We love to hear those. And so please make sure you leave some comments. And if you are a team member, we love when the team members watch the show, and you can't tell us what's going to happen, but if we ask a question like, can you pack and get everything in there, you can let us know, because some people have said on some seasons, yeah, they could, and then some say, no, you can't. So I guess it just depends on the season and what they change the rules around all the time. But anyway, so yeah, we love to hear from you. We love to hear from the viewers. And with that, we will say goodbye, and we will see you next time on GenFriends. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.